So there's a very simple way to propagate berry bushes that have these canes or produce long, slender branches that like to droop down. And one of them is to just take any old branch, fold it down into a pot and put a rock on it. And I do this any time in the growing season in the year. And then I just overwinter it that way. And what you end up with is wherever it's been touching soil, it ends up rooting in there, and it's in there, nice and solid. And so now all I have to do is trim off the branch back here, pot this up into something a little bit deeper, and I have a brand new berry bush. Now, this is a gooseberry, and these ones will readily do that. You can also hill up the soil around the base of the plant. Can't really see in here, but you hill up the soil around the base of the plant. All the stems from all those little branches coming out of the ground will start producing roots, and then you can just dig up the whole plant, separate it, and each one of those stems with roots becomes a brand new plant. If you don't have pots, you don't really need a pot. All you have to do is get a rock. Again, take any old branch, lean it down onto the ground, put a rock on it, and it will form roots and anchor into the ground. And anywhere a little branch comes out, it's going to have roots along the main stem coming down to here. And each one of these is now going to be a new plant. And I've even got another little plant coming up there, under the rock. And I did it over there too. Another little plant coming out. So it's the easiest way to propagate some of your fruit bushes, is to layer it, or to simply pile up some dirt around the base. Oh, here's one. So I piled up dirt around the base, and along the base here, they're starting to put out new shoots. All these little shoots will have roots. All of these branches coming out from the base will have a root system. And because this is on it's on a slight hill, the roots came out, and wherever it's exposed to light, they've actually started putting out new shoots. Now these are black currants, and I've got 3 coming out of this plant right here. Now, over here, this is a white currant. Again, I think I folded down a little branch in here, put on a rock, and along that branch it's growing new shoots. If I lift up that rock, it's well anchored in there, so it definitely has a lot of roots. And if there's any roots along the stem, anywhere along that stem that still has roots, I can just section that off, and each one of these will be a new plant. Now there's another one over there, doing the same thing. So that's the easiest way to propagate new plants for a fruit orchard. If you just buy one, that's all you need. And one more thing about a plant like this. If you take a long branch and it grows along the soil, and you do see a lot of these little side shoots popping out, another thing you can do is that as long as there's a root system in here, you can take the whole length of root, cut it off back closer to the plant, and you can pot it up into something like a piece of eaves trough, or something that has a space that can fit that branch in soil. Bury it down so that just these tips are poking out. they all will then grow out, and you will get better root formation along the entire length of the stem. And so when that happens, then once you got those potted up and they develop a much stronger root system, you can clip off each one of these little ones and they will all form new plants. So if it doesn't take along, or roots don't take along the entire branch length, that's okay. Just pot it up. Make sure that the entire branch is potted up and buried in soil, and it'll all grow roots. And once it does that, then you can have a bunch of small little plants that you can pot up over winter, and then they will be good for planting out the next year. So it's just that's just one more thing you can do to just take advantage of what these plants can do to self-propagate and expand your fruit orchard. Blackberries and raspberries, I mean, once you have them in your garden, you're not going to get rid of them. They're just going to throw out roots, and wherever those roots have a node gets exposed to some light, and you're going to have new plants popping up everywhere. And you'll have a briar patch in no time. That was the blackberries over there. Here we got the same thing with raspberries. They're just popping up everywhere. Everywhere. And I do mean everywhere. Okay, so I'm in my workshop right now, and I just wanted to show the third way that's pretty much the simplest way to propagate it, but it's also the one that probably has the greatest chance of failure. So what I did is I pruned a lot of my fruit bushes. So right here is a bunch of red currants, got some raspberries there, white currants, gooseberries, and all those other plants. I even got some of my Carmine Jewel cherry trees, prunings. So the only thing I did was I took them and I stuck them in a pot of wood chips. Actually, underneath here is a much finer wood chips than what's on top there. So I stuck them in fine wood chips, and I kept the bottom of the pot moist by putting them in a tray and just keeping a little bit of water in the bottom. And I took these probably about a month ago when the buds were just starting to swell. So a month later, and got some cuttings. So some have the green growth here, but some didn't get a root system yet. But some actually did. I rinsed the roots off there. So you've got some pretty fine looking roots there, some nice green growth there. So here's something that I would just then put in a little solo cup full of potting medium, give it a good watering, and I've already got a few done already. And that's a perfectly good new plant right there. Easy to do. And but the success ratio of this is a lot less than keeping a plant attached to the mother plant while it develops roots to become a new plant. This there's probably a higher failure ratio to these things. So, but still, it's successful. It's good enough, and it takes the most work. But whereas you get a guaranteed success the other way, this way, of course, you can do 20, 30, 50, I don't know how many. All your prunings can then be turned into brand new plants. So those are the ways that I like to propagate my fruit bushes. It's pretty simple. I don't do it one way. I do it every different way that I can really. And why not just take advantage of the leftover waste material from your prunings and hey, make some new plants. Alright, so one final note about taking cuttings and rooting them is that when you get sick of putting them into pots, or you run out of pots and you're just doing a whole load of them. Got those ones over there. Simply just make a hole and shove them in the ground. So basically, you just have a stick, got a nail about the same size, you're just going to make a little hole in there. And the trick with using the nail and putting it in the hole is that you want to make sure that you bottom out the cutting, so bring it down as far as it'll go until it hits the bottom of that hole, and then just firm up the soil around them. And you're going to have to keep them very well watered, watered every day or every other day, and preferably in a very shady location. So these spruce trees are on the south side of the garden bed here, and it's shady, got some wild ginger growing there. So this is a good spot for me to be putting in a lot of little cuttings and hopefully getting them to root. And as you can see, being out here, sometimes I forget to water them. Some of them aren't looking so good, but I do believe the majority of them are going to make it. Alright, so that's it for the methods I use to propagate. And well, I hope you were able to get some useful information out of it. Thanks for watching.